Yes, sir. Welcome back to Dimers TV as we continue our team preview series. This time we will be talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder. So, the Oklahoma City Thunder last season had the fourth worst record in the league. Okay, they ended up with a 22 and 50 record. They obviously went on full rebuild mode, playing a lot of their young guys. Okay, so these were some of the stats, the key stats to look at. So in terms of the points per game, they averaged only 105. That was 28th in the league. And then the silver lining is that they actually averaged 45.6 rebounds per game. That was sixth best in the league. So that is elite level right there when it comes to rebounding. As for their assists, well, they only averaged 22.1 assists per ball game, and that was 27th in the league. And then for the points allowed, they were decent. They gave up only 112 points per game, even though, of course, there were certain instances when they really got blown out. But that was still 17th best in the league, which was pretty okay for OKC. Now, these are some of their key returning players. Let's start off with the first one, of course, their main man, Gilgeous-Alexander, who just recently declared himself as the Black Steve Nash. Okay, so he's also from Canada. He had super numbers. The former Clipper averaged 23.7 points per ball game, 4.7 rebounds per ball game, 5.9 assists per game, and zero point 0.8 steals per game with a PER of 21.67. So he's really coming along really well, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And then another guy, one of their young guys as well, we have Darius Bazley. Yes, Darius Bazley averaged 13.7 points per game, averaged 7.2 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and zero point 0.5 blocks. Of course, the PER or the PER can still improve as he only had a 9.73. Now, next player is Lou Dort. Of course, Lou Dort was the surprise, especially in the bubble. He continued his solid play last year when he averaged 14 points per game, 3.6 boards, 1.7 dimes, and zero point 0.9 steals per game, and then had a PER of 10.19. And of course, their last key or returning player of course, is Theo Maledon, who averaged 10.1 points. Remember, Maledon was supposed to be a first round pick, but then he slipped into the second round. He played really well. Oklahoma City gave him the chance. 10.1 points per game, 3.2 boards, 3.5 assists, and zero point 0.9 steals, even though he only had a PER of 8.19 and really had games wherein he really struggled heavily. Okay? And then as for the draft, well, they added three important rookies, starting with the sixth pick in the draft, Josh Giddey from Australia. He was a walking triple-double when he was playing in Australia. And then they added also Trey Mann, who, has tons of confidence when it comes to his game, declaring himself, of course, as the best guard in the draft. And then they got a solid college basketball player here who has a winning pedigree in Jeremiah Robinson Earl, who was acquired, and he went actually early in the second round. Okay, so as for the depth chart for the Oklahoma City Thunder, so these are the guys that we are looking at. So we have, of course, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Lou Dort, and then you also have their first round pick last year who played pretty well in Alexander Pokushevsky. He played really well. They call him Poku. And then Darius Bazley as well. of course, expected to be a starter. And then a guy they acquired from the Dallas Mavericks, Isaiah Roby, who, had his moments last season. And then for their second unit, then we're probably looking at Theo Maledon to play with Josh Giddey, Kenrich Williams, and then Jeremiah Robinson Earl, and then the veteran from the Utah Jazz, Derek Favors. And then some other players for the OKC Thunder. Of course, you're looking at the rookie, Trey Mann, Ty Jerome, and then Mike Muscala, another veteran presence here. Right, so these are some of the guys that they brought in. As for the thoughts and predictions, okay, so again, these are some of the things that we need to remember about the OKC Thunder. So, in terms of their goals, I think their goal would be to just develop their players. Okay, they are in full rebuild mode. They have the most first round and second round picks in the next 5 years, 5 to 8 years probably. So just continue the process of developing these young players. And then next would be, of course, Gilgeous-Alexander. Will he take the next step? How good will he be? Will he be the leader that they're also hoping he becomes? And not just their best player, but their best leader as well. Okay, and then another one would be, of course, to avoid any sort of major injuries to these young guys. There are really zero expectations for the OKC Thunder. You're hoping that they play a lot of games, or they get to play a lot. These young players, they avoid injuries, and they learn a lot from the vets. Okay, so what are our predictions when it comes to the wins? Well, they had the fourth worst record in the league. With all the youth that they have, we don't really see it improving. So they ended up with 22 wins last year on a 72 game schedule. Maybe on an 82 game schedule, we're looking at probably 25 wins to 26, somewhere around that area. Okay, but again, we're not seeing this team making it to the play-in or making it to the playoffs. This is a team that is really in full rebuild mode. Okay, so that is it for our episode on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Again, thank you for always supporting Dimers TV. You can follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook and on Twitter and also on Instagram. Again, thank you for joining us today here at our team preview series featuring the Oklahoma City Thunder. Keep safe.